Hey all, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. So it is that time again for my absolute favorite video to film. We are going through my July TBR. If you have not seen one of these, I will link the entire playlist up in the cards as well as in the description box. But the long and short of it is I pick challenges out of this little jar, and it just helps me pick books that I own in some capacity, physically, as an ebook, as an audiobook. However, I try to not pick books that I don't already own, but it's my game, my rules. But for July, there are a couple things that I am participating in. First of all is the Buzzword Readathon. I do it every single month. July's buzzword is book words, so book, read, paper, whatever. I do have a book picked out for that. After that is the Literally Dead book club. I try to do this as often as I can. It doesn't always happen, but the book for July is House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I will say this book has not been getting the best reviews. It has a pretty low rating over on Goodreads, so I'm nervous. We'll be reading it so that I can participate in the live show chat. And then I'm also planning to participate in Summerween, which is hosted by Gabby and Olivia, who I will also link down in the description box. But this is a week-long readathon all about reading spooky books in summer. I am taking a bit of a spin on it, but I will have the TBR video for that coming right at the beginning of Summerween. So keep your eyes out for that. So none of these books are going to necessarily be for that. They might be on here. I don't know yet. I haven't pulled the TBR things, but I'm not going to tell you which ones. So those are the things that I am currently planning to participate in. I have no idea if other things are going to pop up throughout the month of July, but those are the three things that I am currently planning to participate in. I have some books set aside that I really want to read. Some of these are from my summer TBR. Again, I'll link that up in the cards as well as the description box, but I have a couple of books from that as well as some rereads that I want to do. And yeah, without further rambling, let's get into picking out my TBR challenges. All right, so just like the last couple of months, I am planning to pick out 10 of these just because that's been working out really well. I will say that my June TBR is probably the worst I've ever done with my TBR. I got very sidetracked. So this is going to be our first prompt, and this one is to read an LGBTQIA+ book. For this, I'm going to go with A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows. This is an fantasy romance, and in this, we are following the son to a kingdom. I think he's a duke, maybe. He is supposed to be entering into a marriage of convenience with the daughter from a rival kingdom, only he comes out as gay, and instead of breaking the alliance, he is now promised to the son of the rival kingdom, and it is a marriage of convenience. I love a good marriage of convenience. I'm very excited to pick this one up. That's all I know about it, is the marriage of convenience trope, but that's honestly all I needed to know. Prompt number 2 is, let's go with this one. And this is to read a 2022 arc. So for this, I'm gonna go with Always Be My Duchess by Emily Howard. This is a historical romance that is a retelling of Pretty Woman, and we are following a duke who doesn't really want anything to do with love, but he is saved by a ballerina who is without a job, and he ends up propositioning her to become his fake fiance, I believe, and she lives a life of luxury for the first time, and I assume it is them falling in love. This cover's adorable. Very excited to give this one a read. Prompt 3 is going to be, let's go with this guy, and this one is to read a book for a video. I have no idea what my videos are going to be, so let me go take a look. So I had quite a few options for this one, but I am going to go with Haunting Adeline by H.G. Carlton. I'm not going to tell you what I am reading this for. That's going to be the surprise. But this is the first book in the Cat and Mouse duet, which I believe is a dark fantasy romance. I did read the prequel novella, which was Satan's Affair, and I still don't know what this is about. I believe our hero is a demon, but I'm not 100% on that. And the synopsis for H.G. Carlton's books are very vague and confusing, so I'm not I'm not even gonna read it because it's not gonna help me understand what it's about, but I have heard nothing but good things about this series, this duet, so I'm very, very excited to give it a read. Prompt 4 is, let's pick this one. And this is to read a romance book. For this one, I am going to go with my pick for the Buzzwordathon. This is an arc that doesn't come out until like fall, but this was the one book that immediately came to mind. And no matter what else I looked at, this is the book I wanted to read for the book words prompt, and that is Better Than Fiction by Alexa Martin. I love Alexa Martin. I have read and I own her entire playbook series, and I love this series, so I am very excited for her next book. I don't know anything about this book other than I think the heroine opens or like somehow inherits a bookstore, and she doesn't really want anything to do with it. And I believe her love interest might be an author. I think that's what the vague premise is, and it is the two of them falling in love. Like I said, I love Alexa Martin's writing. Her writing is very readable. It's funny and lighthearted and just a really good time, and I am excited to read a new romance from her. Prompt number 5 is going to be, let's pick this guy. And this is the rainbow challenge. So that is to spin a color wheel and try to choose a book with that color. So I'm just going to grab my laptop and bring up a color wheel. All right, so I have a color wheel up here. So we are going to spin the wheel, maybe. There it goes. And we got the color white. I love how it's purple, but it says white on it. So we're gonna go with white. And I already know exactly what I'm gonna pick for that. And that is the second book in the Deliver Us bind up here. The second book is Vanquish. I may have put this on another TBR at some point. It may have been last month's TBR, but I haven't read it. So it is going on this month's TBR. I did put this entire bind up on that summer TBR, so I need to read the last 2 books in here in order to complete my summer TBR. This is a very, very dark romance. We are following some characters who are part of a sex trafficking, sex slave scheme. And in the second book, we are following the accomplice from our heroine in book 1. He is the guy that originally kidnapped her, and we are getting his romance. Prompt number 6, just ignore the fact that all my books fell down. Let's pick this one. Oh, there's 2 in here, so let's get this one. Okay, this one is to read a paperback. All right, so I'm stretching this a little bit, so I'm gonna go with A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker. The reason I'm stretching this is because, yes, this is 100% a paperback, but I'm gonna read this via audio. So you can call me a cheater, I don't care. But I am rereading this because the sequel comes out in July. And even though I read this pretty recently, I want to make sure that I remember everything that happened in here because this is a pretty like chunky fantasy, and I just want to refresh my memory before going into book 2 so that I'm not lost when I pick that one back up. So this is a fantasy romance following our heroine who lives in the real world, and she is sucked into this fantasy realm, and she wakes up in the body of a princess, and that princess just killed the royal family, and now she needs to prove to the prince that she is engaged to, whose family she just killed, that she is not the person that killed his entire family, and that she has no memories of anything that happened, and it is their very slow burn romance. Prompt 7, and this one is to read a book with a cover that you don't love. I got this prompt last month as well. So, all right, for this one, I'm gonna go with another reread because this is another first book that I want to reread before I read the sequel. And this isn't a bad cover, it just does not do anything for me. And that is A Blade of Secrets by Trisha Levenseller. It has a sword on the cover, which doesn't really do it for me. However, I had a really good time with this YA fantasy. It's very short. We are following our heroine who can imbue weapons with magic, and she imbues this sword with some really powerful abilities, and the person that she made it for ends up being a very bad person, and she goes on the run to try and keep the sword from this woman. And I had a really good time with this book, and the sequel comes out this month, so I want to reread this because it's been a while since I read this. Again, it's not a bad cover, but like this is definitely not my style by any means, so this is going to be the next book on my TBR. Prompt number 8 is, let's pick, that was too many. We're gonna go with this one. And this is a 5-star prediction. I need to peek back at that list because I cannot remember what I had on that 5-star prediction list. Okay, so for a 5-star prediction, I actually only have 3 books left on that list that I haven't read, and I only have 2 of them as arcs right now. So we are going to go with Husband Material by Alexis Hall. This comes out August 2nd, and I think I have 4 arcs that come out on that date, so I definitely need to get a head start on them. But this is the sequel to Boyfriend Material, and we are following Luke and Oliver once again, and I believe the 2 of them are attending like 4 weddings or something like that, and that's all I know about it, is it's Luke and Oliver attending a bunch of weddings. I mentioned this in, I think it was my summer TBR, that I would read anything following these characters. It doesn't matter what they're doing, it doesn't matter what the plot is, what any of it is. I want to be back with these characters. I love them so much, and I am insanely excited to get another book in this series. Prompt number 9 is this one. And oh, this is a book with disability or mental health rep. So for this one, I am actually going to go with the sequel to one of the books I've already talked about, and that is Master of Iron. This is following a heroine who has extreme anxiety, and I loved the anxiety rep in the first book, so I'm excited to dive into this sequel. Like I already said, I've already gone over the premise of the first book. I'm not going to go over the premise of this sequel because it will 100% spoil the first book. And then the final prompt number 10, is let's go with this one. And this is to reread a book. I've already had so many rereads. Luckily, I have one more reread, and that is These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan, and I'm rereading this for the exact same reason. The end to the duology comes out in July, and I want to reread this first book because it's been a minute since I have read this. This is a YA fae fantasy written by Lexi Ryan, who writes a lot of adult romances, and this was her first foray into YA. And this has all of the classic fae fantasy tropes. There's a love triangle, there's a ball, there's all the things in here, and it's a really, really good time, and I'm excited to wrap up this series. But like I said, I want to reread this first one before going into the conclusion, so this is going to be my third and final reread of the month. So that is it for my July TBR. I actually got almost exclusively books off of my list from right down below, so there was no like big surprises on this TBR, which I love when that happens, that there weren't like any big curveballs thrown in, and that we got all the books that I actually needed to get onto my TBR. So this is 10 of the books that I plan to read for July, but I definitely will add a bunch more books to my TBR. So if you want a peek at my full TBR or follow along throughout the month as I read books, my Instagram is always linked down in the description box. I not only post my TBRs, but I also give out templates so that you can share your TBRs. So definitely give me a follow over there, and I will catch you all in my next video. Bye.